transition pictures for folk singer John Denver, or Henry Deutschendorf, as he was born. He died at the age of 53 in a self-piloted plane crash in Monterey Bay, and was a tragic loss. I remember it was in 1997, and Princess Diana died, and then John Denver died in the same couple of months. It was really, really tragic. He sold 33 million albums in his lifetime. His song Rocky Mountain High is the state song of Colorado, or one of them. And Take Me Home Country Roads, I think, is the state song of West Virginia, which is incredibly charming. He had a very unhappy, restless childhood, apparently. He was in a military family that moved around constantly, and music proved to be his salvation. Also, he was just an incredibly talented songwriter. He wrote Annie's song. Remember Annie's song? It was about his wife at the time, Annie. He wrote that in 10 minutes on a chairlift going up a mountain. He was just so incredibly gifted. He was also an environmental activist as well. I mean, and an actor. I mean, just very, very talented guy. But he had a dark side. He was arrested twice, I think, for drunk driving, and was banned from flying, or from piloting a plane anyway, because of his record of drunk driving. When he died, that ban was still in place. He should not have been flying the plane. It was the universe giving him a sign not to fly. He disobeyed, and he died. When I went into the energy, he was just floating in midair, at the same angle you get when you lie in a dentist's chair. As I watched, he gradually tilted up to the vertical and stood there. He was racked with grief. I feel emotion in pictures very often. I feel how they're feeling. I have never felt so far this level of grief. That I'm sorry energy, I didn't mean it energy. I made a mistake, what can I do to rectify it type energy. Such sadness. As he stood there, contemplating the consequences of truncating his life, water began dripping down on him from above, like standing under a faulty shower. It began splashing off his shoulders and his head. And I honestly felt that this was public grief at his death. In this transition period where his consciousness still survives, he could feel the outpouring of sadness and grief from the world at his premature death. Which is fascinating. That we may be able to sense or feel or experience other people's emotions when we're no longer alive. That's amazing. And it just splashed off him and formed puddles around his feet. He knew the world was grieving with him. I've never, in all these pictures, seen anybody so disconsolate, so disappointed in themselves. Somebody who had everything to live for and wanted to live and expected to live for many, many more years. Playing music, flying planes, being with his children, was coming to terms with the fact that none of that was going to happen. And he couldn't reconcile the switch from form to formless, from the corporeal to the ethereal. He couldn't reconcile it. He wanted to go back. This could be undone. There was a way. Miracles happen. In fact, such was his spirit that he wouldn't go up the tunnel. You know, there's a tunnel I always see, metaphorical, symbolic tunnel. He wouldn't go. Not out of stubbornness, not out of a resistance to his fate, simply because there was so much left undone. So many expectations that were unfulfilled, so many loving connections that he couldn't complete. He didn't get to say goodbye. There were a lot of knots that needed untying, and he wouldn't get to untie them. So he stayed. And it's at times like this, if you've seen other transition pictures, there's times like this that the universe goes, hey, let me help you. Come on, pet. We can figure this out later. But we need you to move. You can't stay in this state of regret. And it was almost as if the forces of grace, of unconditional love, reached out to him with a large hand and said, here, come on. And he allowed himself to be lifted and carried to where he needed to go. And then he was laid down. Ahead, there was a membrane across the tunnel. I've seen this before. Drawn by unseen forces, he walked into it, but he didn't come through the other side. It closed around him like shrink wrap. It preserved him on the inside as he was. And once he was coated in this, once he had this film of protection around him, of loving kindness and grace around him, he walked up the rest of the way into where the light was, this metaphorical cavern I always see, this light. And the coating he had on him was made of the same substance as the dome itself. Whatever was inside of him, the sadness, the regret, the anger at his childhood, the reasons he drank to excess, whatever the problems he had, they were sealed in and transported intact into the light. Melded with it, because it was the same substance, and just sank to wherever we go, where these matters are analysed, reviewed, and resolved at a karmic level. Okay. While I've been talking, somebody in a plane has drawn a heart in the sky here. Where's my phone? I'm going to show you. I'm a great believer in signs and wonders. That is uncanny. Oh, there's a plane going overhead. Wow. I think we did a good deed today. Oh, that's going to make me cry. Okay. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'm very grateful. Have a great weekend, everybody. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.